Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times. I'm the Man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast, and as we take a break from our first stage of poetry on Fridays this series, I'm happy to include the poetry here on Thursdays as I read through and discuss the poetry in The Lord of the Rings. So far this series, we've looked at the mini versions of The Road Goes Ever On, the Other Walking Song, the Elven Hymn to Elbereth, 3 fun Hobbit tunes, the Barrow-Wight Spooky Incantation, The Man in the Moon Stayed Up Too Late, The Riddle of Strider, and The Fall of Gil-galad. Today, we're going to start a 2-part look at the song that Aragorn chants on Weathertop about the 2 first-stage heroes and lovers, Beren and Luthien. Strider and the hobbits are in the little dell on the western flank of Weathertop, and, as we saw last week, Sam had shared the verses that Bilbo had taught him about the fall of Gil-galad while they were still on the path towards the hill. Now, as night drew on, the hobbits were eager for a tale of the old days, as Sam put it, a tale about the elves before the fading time. Then we read. "I will tell you the tale of Tinúviel," said Strider, "in brief, for it is a long tale of which the end is not known, and there are none now except Elrond that remember it aright as it was told of old. It is a fair tale, though it is sad, as are all the tales of Middle-earth, and yet it may lift up your hearts." He was silent for some time, and then he began not to speak, but to chant softly. "The leaves were long, the grass was green, the hemlock umbels tall and fair, and in the glade a light was seen of stars in shadow shimmering. Tinúviel was dancing there, to music of a pipe unseen, and light of stars was in her hair, and in her raiment glimmering. There Beren came from mountains cold, and lost he wandered under leaves, and where the elven river rolled he walked alone and sorrowing. He peered between the hemlock leaves, and saw in wonder flowers of gold upon her mantle and her sleeves, and her hair like shadow following. Enchantment healed his weary feet that over hills were doomed to roam, and forth he hastened strong and fleet, and grasped at moonbeams glistening. Through woven woods and elven home she lightly fled on dancing feet, and left him lonely still to roam in the silent forest, listening. He heard there oft the flying sound of feet as light as linden leaves, or music welling underground in hidden hollows quavering. Now withered lay the hemlock sheaves, and one by one with sighing sound whispering fell the beechen leaves in the wintry woodland wavering. He sought her ever, wandering far where leaves of years were thickly strewn, by light of moon and ray of star in frosty heavens shivering. Her mantle glinted in the moon, as on a hilltop high and far she danced, and at her feet was strewn a mist of silver quivering. When winter passed, he came again, and her song released the sudden spring, like rising lark and falling rain and melting water bubbling. He saw the elven flowers spring about her feet, and healed again he longed by her to dance and sing upon the grass untroubling. Again she fled, but swift he came. "Tinúviel! Tinúviel!" he called her by her elvish name, and there she halted, listening. One moment stood she, and a spell his voice laid on her. Beren came, and doom fell on Tinúviel that in his arms lay glistening. As Beren looked into her eyes within the shadows of her hair, the trembling starlight of the skies he saw there mirrored shimmering. Tinúviel, the elven fair, immortal maiden elven wise, about him cast her shadowy hair and arms like silver glimmering. Long was the way that fate them bore, o'er stony mountains cold and grey, through halls of iron and darkling door, and woods of nightshade marrowless. The sundering seas between them lay, and yet at last they met once more, and long ago they passed away in the forest singing Sorrowless. Strider sighed and paused before he spoke again. "That is a song," he said, "in the mode that is called An-Thanath among the elves, but is hard to render in our common speech, and this is but a rough echo of it. It tells of the meeting of Beren, son of Barahir, and Luthien Tinúviel. Now, next week, we're going to look into what An Thanath is, break down the meter and rhyming scheme, and then look at the prose version of the tale, the summary that Strider tells next. For now, though, folks, thank you for joining me for this week's Third Age Thursday. We'll end our series next week as we wrap up our look at the Song of Beren and Luthien. Perfect, as we prepare to return to First Age Fridays again next series, where I will continue reading the Lay of Leithian. Check out patreon.com/Tolkien Times to learn how you can support the show, get an ad-free feed, join my content council, get a bonus weekly episode, and more. And join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times for yet another fun Fandom Friday. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Follow or subscribe in your podcast apps, and follow @Tolkien Times on all your social media. Finally, as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.